Alright guys, in today's video, we're going to be installing the Nibbi Racing 22mm performance carburetor on our SSR 125. It seems like the bigger carburetors for these smaller CC bikes are not quite ideal. They do run decent, but they don't have that off the idle snap like you'd want. We did some experimenting and we'll kind of document that, in a later video, just kind of comparing the carbs, but from our findings, the PE22 Flange, just like this but a little bit larger, worked the best out of all the other ones on a 125. So I got the 22mm from Nibbi Racing. They sent us this to try out, as well as their high flow performance air filter. Super nice, super sleek. It's got a foam insert inside. So we'll make sure that fits and we'll try that out. In this video, we're going to just install this one. I got to swap out the intake because I had a different style carburetor on here. So we'll kind of go through that process, outline all the details, and then possibly do some tuning depending on how this 22mm runs on this. I got everything kind of swapped over. Got my stock intake back on like you'd see on any of your pit bikes that you guys might be doing this on. We're going to install the throttle slide next. Nibbi's got nice red anodized aluminum. We're using Nibbi Racing's throttle cable, but this will work with a stock throttle cable as well. Take this old, actually I'll take this boot off here. And all we're gonna do is slide this through here and seat it up against the cable. There will be a little O-ring inside the throttle cap. You can make sure that stays in there. Next thing's gonna be the spring. Try to keep it in frame so you guys can see this. I'm gonna get all the pieces ready. If I can show it. So I'll try to not be in the way that much, but you'll put your spring in here first, through the cable, get that compressed down. And then there's gonna be a white plastic piece. That's going to go on next. And then your actual throttle slide itself. That little clip would be opening facing the groove. That's where your throttle cable is going to go in. And it's going to sit in that hole right there. I did check the needle clip position. It was 1 from the bottom, so we're a tick richer than normal. So we set the cable in here, white plastic piece on top, and we get the spring to sit down. And that should do it. Now it's all ready for the carburetor. So I'm going to get the carburetor set over here next. The intake spacer, we're going to use that on this one. There's going to be a gasket between the intake and the plastic spacer. And then the O-ring on the carburetor is going to seal against the plastic. And then we're going to bolt that together. Usually I'll put the slide in first and then put it all up in there. Our fuel line, we can hook that on last. So I'm going to get my bolts that I need for the carburetor mounting, and I'll let you guys know when I get that far. Okay, so got the throttle slide, everything installed in the new carburetor. Take your little shipping cap off the fuel inlet. Don't forget that. I got the plastic intake spacer with the gasket. Gasket's going to go against here, and then the O-ring will seal against the carburetor. I'm going to push the throttle cable up in here, and I'll start one of the bolts. I believe it'll have to go, yes, that way, from the front. So maybe I'll start it like this. And the intake spacer is shaped like a certain way. So if you put it on upside down, it kind of doesn't match the opening of the intake. So just pay close attention to which way you put it on. You'll clearly see the difference when you look at it. So everything started there. Then we just got to get the carburetor slid up in here. Something like that. And then I'm watching my throttle cable, getting that all happy. And then you may have to you got just enough room to get these nuts started. think we got them started there. I'll go on the other side, get the other side started. Just enough room, I think. And these are 10 millimeter and 8 millimeter. Mainly metrics on this sort of thing. Look at that. Starting to tighten. And I'll get my socket in a wrench and get this all snugged up real nice. The last thing would be to hook the air filter and fuel line up. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tighten these nuts and bolts. You don't want to go over tighten on them because that is a plastic spacer. Just firm snug, plenty of sealing going on there. You don't have to over tighten them. Make sure your throttle cable is routed how it was. Not that it's pinched or something silly like that. Everything looks decent for the most part there. Overflow line, that actually has a little slot down in by the engine cases there, and that can go out the bottom. Like I said, we're gonna put this on, start it up, see how it runs. I didn't document what was inside the carburetors for jetting. I could probably go look on Nibbi's, they have a little cheat sheet basically of all the carburetor models and what's in them for jetting and settings initially just to start with. So I'll probably just go that way and check to make sure what's in it. Write that down, and then we may have to richen up the pilot circuit or the main circuit or both. So we'll see from there. All right, guys, carburetor is tight, very secure. I could have used a little longer bolts than stock. They protrude like a couple threads through the nuts. Honestly, not probably the most, for the long term, probably not the best option there, but for testing purposes, it'll probably be okay. Maybe want to get like another 5 millimeter longer bolts, just because it looks like the Nibbi flange is a little wider than a stock one. So it's going to work just fine for now, but maybe in the future I'll upgrade the bolts. Fuel line's connected. We checked ahead of time what the air screw is set at, and we set it to 1.5 turns. I'm just going to install the high flow air filter now. Hopefully it fits. Oh, it looks like it fits like a glove. And I got a screwdriver over here, a little bit bigger one. Oh, all right. I'll get the camera down in there so you guys can see. Just going to see how that's going to fit. I'll put the clamp up here. Try to tighten her down. Looks like she's on there all right. Okay, so that seems plenty secure. I was going to go ahead and I'll turn my fuel on, see if anything leaks out. I'm looking around the carburetor, just making sure it's square. I mean, snappy, guys. If you ever want to throttle that snappy, you're going to get a Nibbi, because that spring and that slide, whoo, she's a snappy one. If you haven't seen our initial videos too, when we unbox some of these and it goes over the features of the carburetor, definitely go check that out. I'm not really going to touch too much on it. If we turn to the jetting side of it, I will touch a little bit more on it, but I did have a video dedicated to, just looking at the carburetors and explaining certain things on the exterior and interior of the carb. So it's all installed, the fuel's turned on. The only thing left is to test fire it. So I'll get the camera outside here and we'll try to start it up, see how it lights pulled outside, carb's installed, fuel's on. Let me just make sure there's gas in it.
Oh yeah.
See, there's gas in it. Oh, it's full.
Oh, hello
Sweet.
there.
So I'll try no choking it once, guys, and then we'll see how that goes. Ooh. Still bad. I'd say about the same in responsiveness. Let's turn the idle up a little.